What's up, and welcome to this episode of EST, the podcast for established church leaders by established church leaders. My name is Josh.
My name is Sam, and Josh, I want to rock you like a hurricane.
I don't think you're supposed to say that.
It's a song.
I've never heard it. No, I don't know if song
you're singing. Is it Scorpions? I think it's Scorpions.
I have no idea. I don't know. I've never heard that song before.
I don't believe you.
I'm a little concerned on what it means.
It's the Scorpions. You've heard it. You can look it up.
I'll look it up. I'll play it on the way home.
Now, I haven't seen. I don't know anything about the video. The video is probably horrible because it's an '80s song. But I say that because we just survived. We just survived Hurricane Idalia, and it grazed us. Thankfully, we're all right. And so this is the day after. So it's good to be talking to you. I've been cooped up in my house for like the last 24 hours.
That's not fun.
No, but we got a guest on our show today, Joe Humphries. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys.
It's good to have you, Joe. Joe is the author of From the Projects to the Boardroom. He has done a lot in church ministry as a layperson. He's going to be talking about that today. And he also leads JH Group. So go to jhgroup.pro if you're interested in learning more. He's got a really neat program called Safe Place. We'll let him talk about that here in a moment. But we really want to hear from him is what encouragement looks like from the perspective of a layperson. But before we get into that, I certainly want to thank our sponsor, Church Teams. Church Teams is an incredible group of people that resource the church in the area of church management software. If you've been listening to the show, you know that we love Church Teams here at EST, particularly because they're scalable. And whatever size church you are, small or large, they can help you out. So go to est.church to get our offer. They are offering something special to you, the listeners, 2 months free. Fill out the form, and you can see all that they have to offer there. They do everything with church management software: texting, text to give, check-in, all sorts of stuff, online giving. They do it all. So I would encourage you to go check out Church Teams. They've got a price plan that's right for you. They offer plans low for smaller churches, and we want to thank Church Teams for sponsoring us. So Josh, let's talk about this. Let me just ask you, I'll start with Josh and then I'll go to Joe. Are you, my love language is encouragement, one of them. It's up there. Let me put it up there. I won't say it's the top one, but it's up there.
Yeah.
So I feed off encouragement, and when people encourage me, it really means a lot to me. Is that you or not?
I'm not sure. I think my love language is almond Snickers, and outside of that, that's what makes me feel really great.
Okay, so that would be gifts.
It's probably gifts. I'm more of a gifts guy. In my marriage, I'm the touchy one, so I think there is some of that physical touch stuff. But I don't think the encouragement thing really registers big with me. It's not that big of a deal to me, but I understand how it means a lot to other people.
Well, that makes me feel good about myself because I don't really offer you much encouragement, even though we're friends. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why you're friends.
You do send me a card every month, and that's encouraging. Yeah.
I do send you a card, and the card is for those of you who nobody would know this, but
nobody.
But yes, I send Josh a card every single month,
and it's ridiculous and funny. We all
ridiculous is
the
ridiculous is the right word. Joe, we're bringing you on the show mainly because really this is your idea, and this is something that you do really well. So tell us a little bit about how you encourage your pastor, what you do in this world. Share with us a little bit about your story as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Sam and Josh, for having me on. I think one of the biggest problems where we are really deficient is in encouraging our pastors. And so often we have this vision of a pastor wearing a Superman or Batman outfit. And what I've discovered through working closely with
Hmm.
pastors, being a deacon, I was an elder, and I learned that, and I have witnessed that 98% of the time or more, pastors are depleted instead of replenished. And I think it's important that
Hmm.
pastors have some encouragers around them to help replenish them. And I think it sets them up to fail because they always giving instead of receiving. And often pastors are trying to condition themselves to be a giver. But after a while, you have to stop and get replenished. So that's why I think it's so important to encourage pastors, church leadership, and you often you have to get them in a safe place to do it. And Sam, as been a pastor, that can be difficult.
Yeah, tell us. Yeah, and tell us a little bit about what you do with Safe Place. I think this is important for our listeners.
Got it. So real quick, I tell you, safe place is amazing how God birthed something out of your ordinary day. I was just looking for a new safe because the safe I had I had outgrown it. It was a safe I had before I got married, and I had it years within my marriage, and then life changed, and I needed a bigger safe for something to put like wheels in and bigger documents. And as I started looking for a safe, I became really knowledgeable with the specifications of a safe. How long would it be if a safe caught on fire, was in a flood? Because you want to protect the sensitivity things that mean a lot to you. And one morning, after a few days, just putting my head down, Googling about safes, I came pretty good at it. And I can remember brushing my teeth, and God hit it. It was like God was speaking to my heart. He said, Joe, pastors need a safe place. And I took there, and I thought it was just, okay, maybe that's good. And it was just a burden on my heart to the point that I started writing things down and developing a safe place coaching model. And I was using some of my corporate experience. I had 32 years in corporate America as an executive. And I used my church experience, and I brought this together, and I tried to see where's the areas where pastors really need a safe place. And that's how a safe place came about, Sam and Josh. And so what I've done since then is I've tested it, and so far it seemed to be something that pastors are interested in, but we got to get them to take that next step and actually do it. And safe place is really designed not to be a place where you have popularity, where you have a lot of people. I mean, one of the best examples of a safe place is Jesus himself. He ministered to a lot of disciples, but when it got down to his safe place, he had three. There were some conversations that went on with James
Mm.
and Peter and John that didn't go on with the rest of the disciples because he felt safe. And a really good example of a safe place is I'm reminded of the story in Mark where the man knew he heard that Jesus was going to be at a house nearby. And he asked four friends if they would carry his mat. Now I'm a numbers guy, and I was always wondering, Josh and Sam, why wouldn't this man ask 12 or 15 men to carry this mat? It would have been less taxing on the four. But the example that if you look at it, if you can find four people or three people to be in your safe place, because a safe place is a place where you don't want to share, you can't share the things that you will share in a safe place with everybody. But it was impressive that these friends they got to this house and they didn't say, well, wait a minute, it's too many people there. But the right four friends will carry you to Jesus on the mat when you can't carry yourself. And it goes on to just finish this piece up. As you know the story, they cut a hole in this roof and they lowered this man in. And Jesus healed this man, not because of his faith, but because of the people that was in his safe place. These people, these four men, they displayed a level of patience and passions, and they was just so caring for this man. And so you want to have people in your safe place, pastors, that when you're too tired and you're too sick and too weak to get to Jesus, they will carry your mat for you. That's what a safe place look like.
So, so Josh, I've been there. I'm sure you've been there too,
Yeah.
where I hear what Joe is saying. You know, just two, three, or four good friends or people that you trust. They don't even have to be friends.
Yeah.
Can carry you a long way as a pastor.
Absolutely.
But what if you're in a church situation where, where you don't have that? Because we hear from pastors all the time where I wish I had one. I wish I had two. I wish I
Yeah.
had three. What do you do in a situation where you don't have that group, even if it's just a small group that can surround you and support you?
Yeah, I would say, well, first of all, you don't want to get into that space. So we don't often think about the need until we need it. And you need to prepare ahead. You need to plan ahead and make sure that you're fostering some good relationships and reaching out to guys and some people that you can be, to use Joe's words there, in a safe place with. And so you want to build those relationships. And a lot of us pastors, when things are going well, when we're happy, we do feel like Superman or Batman. We feel like we're
Yeah.
bulletproof. We don't need any help, so we don't try to foster that. I'll do that later. It gets on the back burner. So I would say you need to start when seasons are good, building that. And then when you are not in that space, I would say this: look, we don't reach out to one another enough as pastors. The first place that I would start, if you need that and it's emergency, I don't know any pastors, any ministers, that if an acquaintance from a town over or a state over text them and said, I'm in a tough spot, I need somebody to talk to, wouldn't drop everything and listen to that person. We just have too much pride to do that. Or we feel like we're going to be a burden to them, or we feel like that's not a good thing to do. And as it's being pointed out here, we are depleted. Pastors are depleted so regularly. So much is being pulled of us. You need to go ahead and reach out. And so I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. Somebody maybe you went to school with, you haven't talked to in years, and just text them and say, I just need somebody to talk to. And you get two or three of those together, it grows, it matures, and then you can get back into a good spot, start building those local relationships.
So I want to dig a little deeper into the subject because, as a shepherd, you are responsible for your flock, and I feel that. I feel this idea that I need to be there for my people. I almost feel uncomfortable when it's like I need my people. I need encouragement. I need something from the church because I'm the one that's supposed to be serving the church. I'm the one that's supposed to be giving. And Joe brought that up in such a great way. We give as pastors, and we don't often set a tone or a culture in our own churches where we can be receiving. That's what Paul writes about in the book of Philippians when he talks about the matter of giving and receiving. This idea that, sometimes you particularly as just a church member, you need to be ministered to just as much as you need to be ministering. And I'd say the same for pastors. But I want to take this a step further. And Josh, I know you don't need any encouragement, and you're this incredible, just lone wolf. You don't need anyone, as you mentioned earlier. Why do we need encouragement from the sheep? Why do we need encouragement from the flock? Okay, so we can get encouragement from lots of places, our spouses and our friends and our mentors and, our network, our peers. But why the church? Why would the laity need to encourage the pastor?
I'd love to hear Joe's opinion on that. I would just say that because we are sheep too. The laity clergy thing is there, and it applies to many situations. But you are a sheep too. You are a Christian that is walking and following the Good Shepherd. And the church, they're people who are indwelled by the same Holy Spirit that you are. And it is one of their responsibilities. All of us are Christians. So it's not like Paul says, encourage one another if you're a sheep, or encourage one another if you're clergy, but not these one another passages were given to all Christians, of which we are one of them. So it's designed that way. The authority structure does not negate the encouragement need and ability we have as one body.
Now, Joe, you're around a lot of pastors, and I know this is part of just your ministry, something you do on a regular basis. What are you seeing at ground level when it comes to pastors' encouragement, and particularly encouragement from the laity?
Okay, just to build on what Josh was saying earlier, and I think you asked the question, Sam. It's what, from my experience, it's difficult to find that safe place on your board. 90 over 90, probably less than 2% pastors have a board that they can go in and talk to and say, guys, I just want to lay it on the line. I've been thinking about having an affair with this woman. Either I've been looking at pornography or either I'm on drugs, and feel safe. Unfortunately, we have not set the boards and the church leadership up to protect the pastor to share that type of vulnerability. So, number one, what I've seen on the ground, Sam, is I haven't seen that type of board in. I can't think of a church that I've seen a board where if a pastor went in and was not wearing a Superman suit and telling them how strong he was, that they wouldn't be insecure about what they was going to say. So here's the thing. Josh brought up a good point. You may have to reach out to a guy that you went to school with, in seminary school with, that lives in a different state to be your safe place. But here's the key. It ain't designed for you to have a whole audience a safe place. So as tough as this is for me to say, I don't think pastors are going to find a safe place on a board. You might find it in your church, but in some way, Sam and Josh, it may be even more effective for you to find your safe place outside of that church. But here's the thing that you have to keep in mind. They must be spiritual mature. Because if you don't get that right, that's the S in safe, by the way. If you don't get that right, everything else fails. You want people in your safe place that will answer your questions based on the word of God, and they will give you advice based on the word of God. And you want that person, if you want to look at that A and to say, you need somebody to keep you accountable, Sam. Because here's what I see with a lot of pastors. Unfortunately, we have put them on a pedestal and they don't want accountability. And when you don't have accountability, you'll become a liability. And so those are two crucial points that you need: spiritual mature, and somebody will keep you accountable. The average church member will walk up to a pastor and will not talk to them in a way that will help them. They will continue to sing their praises, and that's encouragement that you need. And you talked about getting encouragement from your flock. There's an encouragement you need from your flock, but then there's an accountability you need in your safe place. Probably you're going to find outside of your flock.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point. Is it really encouragement unless it doesn't come with corresponding accountability? Or is it some sort of false encouragement? I'm just thinking out loud here. I think accountability is a key part of being encouraged in a proper way.
Yes.
I remember my first sermon, and it was horrid, as most first sermons are. And I had all the older people come up to me. I'm 20 something years old, in my early 20s, and that was great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got so much out. They didn't get anything out of it, right? They didn't, but they were still encouraging. And it was good for me. But is that truly what we need? I think encouragement coupled with accountability is probably what pastors really need. And Joe's right. I mean, for most of our listeners here, yeah, bring one of your real struggles to the personnel committee, right? Or a board or whatever you have.
Yeah.
Whatever accountability structure you have, and just say, guys, I'm really struggling with this, and see how that goes for you. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to go well for you. We do not recommend you
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that.
Sam, I
Right.
was in Chicago.
So that encouragement, that safe place.
Go ahead, Sam. I'm sorry.
Yeah, tell us about Chicago.
So I was in Chicago at Moody
No,
Institute.
tell us about Chicago, Joe.
Yeah, in Chicago at the pastors convention, and it was 1,500 pastors there. This one pastor walked over to me that I've never seen in my life the third day, and he sit down and had lunch with me, and he told me that he was about to have an affair with his secretary. And I asked him why he was telling me. He said, because I can't tell my church leadership. And he said, I'm just at a bad place. He said, I'm in a crisis. He said, and I'm about to make a terrible mistake. And you're the first person I seen. He said, I seen you a couple of days ago, and I just want to talk to you. I was safe for him because he didn't know me. But how sad is that? And if we don't do something to protect our pastors, I mean, we see pastors are being burnt out. They're leaving. They're not happy. They don't have peace. That's good, Sam, when that old couple come up and talk to you. But I tell you what, I have people in my safe place that bring me up and they say, Joe, your introduction was terrible. You need to cut it down. And by the way, you stayed too much on this. Now I'm giving you the quick version. So they told me in love, but so that pat on your back, it works. But you also need that person, Josh, that's gonna pull you to the side or have coffee with you Monday and say, man, did you seem like you put more time into golf than you did with God. You need to have that.
Mm.
But getting back to Chicago, it's sad when a
Well, we're
pastor.
talking to Joe.
We got some delays here, but saying getting back in
Yeah, well,
Chicago, it's critical that that pastor and all pastors, as you said, Josh, if you go put it on the line, and I'm with you 100%, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that, and that's why pastors they don't have nowhere to turn, and that's why I'm so passionate about. We need to get help out to these pastors. They're fighting. They on this journey alone, outside of their poor wives.
Well, we're talking to Joe Humphries. jhgroup.pro is where you can learn more about what he does for churches and pastors. I've had him speak at West Bradenton, and it was a great time with Joe. So I certainly encourage you to go check him out. He's also got a good book, a really good book. If you're looking for an inspiring story, From the Projects to the Boardroom, you can find it on Amazon. We didn't even really have a chance to get into his story, which is a whole nother thing, and a truly inspiring story. If you want to learn more about him, I certainly recommend the book. Let's end with this. Why? I'll start with Josh, and then I'll go to Joe. Why do too few in the church offer encouragement? Is it something they just don't know to do? They don't think to do? I don't think most people are malicious. I don't think lay people are out there thinking, I don't want to encourage my pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So I think motives are pure for the most part, but this seems to be something that's lacking. Why is that?
I've got a couple theories on this. One is that we are normally set up in a place. We stand on a raised platform. We talk. When they hear us speak, we have prepped that thing for several days. We to them sound articulate. We put things together. We exude a certain level of confidence. You have to have. I always tell Jackie, that's my wife, Joe. I always tell Jackie that for pastoring, there's just a base level arrogance to it. You just have to have a certain level of confidence to say, thus saith the Lord, and this is how we're going to spend that money, and this is what we're going to do. And I joke that it's arrogance. It's not, but you just have to have that. And people pick up on that. Most people would rather die. Statistically shows that most people would rather die than speak publicly. Mm-hmm. So we do that every single week. So there's a certain level in which they really do think that we have a Superman, a Batman level. We don't need it. We don't get discouraged. That sort of stuff. The other side of it is, I would say, we don't. in our culture, we don't know how to deal with the discouragement of our pastors. So one of the way that I always communicate this is nobody knows what to do when their dad cries because you don't see him cry.
Mhm.
And when he does, you're uncomfortable. I don't know, but all of us are men, dad, we've cried our whole lives. We're just like normal people, but they didn't see it. They weren't there. And a lot of times we hide that. So when you do disclose that sort of stuff, it's not that the people don't want to help you. They just honestly don't know how. And so I think, that's my why, because we exude a certain level of confidence and because nobody knows how. I think my answer to that is we've got to be more honest. If you feel like crying during your preaching, then cry a little bit. If you're crying all the time, then suck it up a little bit. But if you feel like it, you got to express that. We gotta be normal people and tear down those walls ourselves. You can't keep those walls up, and you're the only one that can get them down. Nobody else is going to do it.
I served at a church where there was a fill-in, and I really don't want to give too many details here. And we had a larger staff. I was not the lead pastor, and we would take bets. There's no money involved, but we would take bets as to how long it would take this particular fill-in to start crying. And we kind of had an over and under, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Every single time, every single sermon, there was tears shed. So there is a limit to that. You just, as you were talking, Josh, I got these images from a past season of my life.
It happens.
Joe, will end with you. What would you tell the lay people of a church if you got some lay people listening in and they're like, they're going, okay, I want to do a better job of encouraging my pastor. I think most people do. How can you help them get from the thought that's in their brain to actually doing it?
I think Josh said it so well that it's just a culture that we have to change. And I think that one of the things that people need to understand, as hard it is for most people to speak, but for pastors after doing it every Sunday, it become pretty comfortable for them. And I would probably say, now I've never been a pastor, so Sam, you and Josh can correct me here. I'd probably say your easiest hour of the week is when you're preaching. It's the other 167 hours in a week that you have to put on that CEO hat and you have to deal with real life issues. That's when you need that encouragement. I would tell the lay people, pick your fights. Instead of going to the pastor and complaining what color the carpet is, give him an encouraging word. He's human as well. And his wife hurts when that husband hurt. And as the children get older, they will hurt. So we have to, I think it's a balance and it's a culture change, but it's that 167 hours that I think most of the pastors in that week need support. It's not that hour where they up and pastor and okay, everybody want to be real firm when they're preaching. But don't forget that 167 hours. Don't forget Thursday and Friday and Saturday. If that thing can wait to talk to your pastor on Tuesday, let it wait. Because as he's preparing that word to deliver, it's a burden on that pastor heart. Because pastors are naturally shepherds and they care. And I guess if you look at something tangible, try to replenish that pastor, not deplete him.
That's a really good word. Thank you, Joe, for joining us on the show. Again, check him out at jhgroup.pro. We'll put a link in the show notes as well. The book is From the Projects to the Boardroom. Definitely want to go give that one a read. You can pick it up off Amazon. We want to thank our sponsor, Church Answers. Check out the bookstore. Go to churchanswers.com. By the way, we just redid the front page of the website. I don't know that anybody will notice, but I'm kind of proud of it. Brian, thank you. I don't even know that Brian listens to the show, but he is our tech guru, and he did a really good job on it. And right there on the front page, the new front page, is our bookstore. Click on the bookstore link. You can go check out all of the content that we have curated just for you. We've been delivering digital resources to your computers. Now we can deliver physical products to your doors. So go check out the Church Answers bookstore. And Josh, why don't you sign us out, my friend?
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe, for being on the show today. And thank you for listening to EST. We hope that you will rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and that on Twitter or other social media platforms, you will engage in the conversation. We get our ideas from the comments that you leave. So make sure that you're leaving those comments, and we'll check you next week.